What's up, y'all? It's the Vulgar Desperado here with a quick review of episode 4 of the shitty-ass Disney Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. Now, overall, the episode was, mid at best. I think a lot of normies would enjoy it. There wasn't any, super glaring weaknesses to the episode, except for one, which I'll get into. But before we do that, please like and subscribe. Really appreciate some of the love y'all are showing. Thanks a lot for that. Now, the main problem with the episode, again, it wasn't terrible. It's kind of your standard, Leia's captured again, gotta go save the person, Opie's healing up, and, it just kind of picks up right literally where it left off. And, it's not bad in and of itself for storytelling. But the main glaring issue that I want to focus on is, again, this weak Obi bit. You're giving leeway because you're like, yes, he has PTSD. Yes, he hasn't been in battle for some years, so he's struggling here. But there was one scene, or rather two scenes, that kind of make it a problem for me. One being the scene that Obi is struggling to use the Force, in the little hangar. He's, trying to, move a little communicator or something. I'll put it up on the screen. And then later on in the episode, when, shit hits the fan, he's able to use it. He's able to hold back fucking rushing water trying to drown him and all these stormtroopers. And again, that's kind of my problem with the show, is the consistency. There's no real no real logic in why he sucks at using the Force and why he can kind of use it, can't use it. They haven't really dove into that. And this is episode 4 of 6? So my issue is, what was the point of making him this weak in the first place? Now, it'd be one thing if we were watching this redemption story of him actually trying to come back to the Force, but because they keep turning it on and off, for me personally, it's just kind of more convenient than it is actual good storytelling. You're only, he has the Force when he needs to save Leia, but he doesn't have the Force when you want him to lose against Vader, or you want him to look silly. I really don't know what the purpose of it is. I think in a lot of ways you could have easily just made him still competent with the Force, especially considering he was supposed to still be in training. I think that is the biggest problem with this show, is that they don't really know what to do with Obi-Wan. You're playing on the heartstrings and nostalgia, oh, he's sad because of Anakin, Order 66, blah, blah, blah. But in a lot of ways, this show would have worked maybe even better with a random created character fucking Jedi. Considering all the amounts of girl power in this fucking show, from the traitor spy that's on their side, to Reva, to Leia, to even one of the fucking little TIE fighters, not TIE fighters, but whatever their fucking ships are called. You have a lot of chicks doing shit. Might as well just made it a fucking chick Jedi too, and just said, here you go, Kathleen Kennedy, because that's what you really fucking want. You really want the girl power series. So, overall, the episode was okay. I do think, Leia did actually act like a child at times, so that wasn't too bad. But you know what I want to do? I actually want to dive into these articles that came up on comicbooknews.com, just more or less proving the points of what I've been talking about in my reviews. So one article that came out today, it says, or yesterday rather, it says, Obi-Wan Kenobi writers comment on young Leia sass in the Star Wars series. And in quotes, it says, Leia sass is fun to write, but a little goes a long way. So you try not to gild the lily with that. Continuing, it says, Obi-Wan head writer and executive producer Joby Harold told The Hollywood Reporter, you try to make sure that it comes across as being spirited and not just a grown-up writing for a kid. So it's always a challenge, but we tried to thread that needle as gracefully as we could. And you failed. The fact that they're having to have articles with the Hollywood Reporter admitting that, hey, this is what we're trying to do, just goes to show that they're not doing it successfully. If you have to have not necessarily hit pieces, but fluff pieces or puff pieces defending your choices, because obviously that a lot of people are critiquing it. If a lot of people are out there saying, yo, Leia acts like a fucking adult, you're going to, like, obviously you're not doing it well. You're not doing it like, oh, she's sassy. No, she's fucking 10. You need to dial that shit back. If anything, this should have been the arc to show how she becomes sassy. She should have went from maybe a graceful princess to a little bit more battle hardened, and by the time she's 16 in A New Hope, it would make more sense because it wouldn't have been her first fucking rodeo. So obviously they're not thinking when they came to the writing. Like, you're not doing it gracefully. You're struggling here. And another article that came out, it says Obi-Wan Kenobi writer speaks out on breaking Star Wars continuity for Disney Plus series. Again, if you have to defend yourself, and again, this is to the Hollywood Reporter, you're fucking up. You're not doing it well. So in this article, it says, in quotes, again, Joby Harold, it says it was, let me start back. It says, series writer Joby Harold was recently asked by the Hollywood Reporter if there was a line in The New Hope that opened up the possibility for this new encounter. They're talking about, like, Obi-Wan meeting Vader again. And it says, it was much the opposite. There was no line in A New Hope that said we couldn't. That's a lie. He said when Vader and Obi-Wan met, and he said, when I first left you, or when I last left you, I was but the learner, now I'm the master. Considering the fact that, part of Anakin's story in Episode 3 was the fact that he wanted to be a master on the council and found that insulting, there's your fucking line, guy. It continues. One could argue that Obi-Wan, from a certain point of view, is obviously revisionist storytelling, in regards to the original trilogy, or it's another way of saying there are gray areas and things we don't know. There's nothing wrong with uncovering the past and its truth in its storytelling, so it never felt wrong to me. There's nothing that I feel like we violated at all. If anything, we've informed those scenes so that some of the choices that we've taken for granted in the original trilogy actually make more sense now. No, it doesn't. Continuing, if you came to the entire Star Wars storytelling world fresh and watched it all the way from episode 1, this would feel like a natural link between those two trilogies. It really doesn't. There's obviously glaring issues that the fandom has called out, hence this article. You can sit there and say, well, we're, trying to play loose and fast and we're leaving things a bit ambiguous, but the simple fact of the matter is there are lines, there's years of history, continuity, extended universe, books and games and stuff that prove the fact that these two have not met, and the fact that, hell, and not only that too, even in this episode, more continuity breaking. Leia, Obi calls her, he goes by, oh, I'm Ben Kenobi. So everyone's like, well, she doesn't know that he's Obi-Wan. He knows her as Ben. In this fucking episode, Reva tells her Obi. She says, Obi-Wan Kenobi's not saving you, blah, blah. Like, she knows it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, okay? So the fact that Leia and Vader both have met Obi-Wan, and in the fucking New Hope movie, they have no idea of who this guy is. It's ignorant. It's simply that. It's ignorant. You didn't do your research, and now you're trying to justify it with gray areas. And the fact of the matter is, the Star Wars fandom does not accept gray areas, okay? Fuck it, call us Sith if you want, but we deal in the absolutes. You either know the fucking lore and the history, or you fucking don't. You can, not like they're going to admit they fucked up, but they fucked up. They did not make the correct choices when it came to the world and the characters. They act like they can just say and do whatever for convenience. And just like I was saying with Obi's force powers, everything is a matter of convenience. You are only seeing Obi-Wan be a badass when the story demands it, and then you're seeing him be weak when the story demands it. Like the scene I was mentioning earlier. When he's struggling to pull the little communicator thing, that was only designed for the one chick to say, well, you gotta heal from the past, just to remind you that he has PTSD. That's literally all that was. It was just an emotional play. Because, like, literally the next line, she's like, you care for Leia. Like, that's all it was. It was emotional building. And if it was more deserved and more well earned, sure, you can kind of do that. But considering the fact that he can just turn it on and off, and let's be real, the Force isn't something that, oh, when you're in the heat of the moment, it just works. Like, that's just not how that works. You got it or you don't. So, generally speaking, again, there's a real lack of logic here because they're just playing into whatever suits their Disney-fied needs. So, that's all I really had to say. That's a little bit shorter than the other ones. Again, if you're a normie, you might enjoy this episode. There's no real glaring weaknesses. I will say Reva and Leia, like, interrogating her was kind of dumb because she's like, I know you know where the path is. Like, there should have really been a line for Leia, like, I'm 10. I don't know shit. So, there you go, Disney. Wasn't the worst of the four, but still not good enough to really, like, turn this show around, especially considering there's 2 other episodes. And, oh, even though lightsabers have in the past in games and stuff blocked, you know, lasers from the spaceships, that scene was kind of funny at the end. She just looked like she was just swinging this sword, looked almost a little too heavy for her. And I don't know. Again, I think that's more on a budgeting issue. Like, it just looked a little chintzy and corny. But overall, not too bad of an episode. Some may like it. Real fans are going to be like, on it. But here we are, episode 4. 2 more to go. Let's see what happens. Once again, please like and subscribe. Vulgar Desperado representing the Jabberjaws. Peace.